practice, but for anyone who is joining us today for the first time, the Community of Practice is a platform that aims to foster the development of Kenya's emerging e-cooking sector. And we do this by bringing together actors and stakeholders from the clean cooking sector and the e-cooking sector. We normally do our convenings via our WhatsApp group. As we proceed, we will share the WhatsApp link on the chat. Sorry, can you mute, please? Oh, thank you. Yeah, so as I was saying, as we proceed, we will share the WhatsApp link on the chat for those who have not joined and would like to join the WhatsApp group. We'll find the link there. So we also do a series of virtual convenings like the one we are doing today. And this COP is co-convened by GAMO East Africa, Kenya, and Kenya Power, CCAK, and African Center for Technology Studies. And we are supported by the Modern Energy Cooking Services Program, the MEX program as we all know it. So today's dialogue, we are going to be sharing about project experiences and key lessons learned from piloting pressure cookers in Kalobeyei Integrated Settlements in Kenya. And so we hope that by the end of this session, we will be able to gain insights into the potential for cooking with electric pressure cookers for mini-grids users in refugee settings, and also understand the requirements and potential barriers for developing market for EPCs in low-income mini-grid settings, and particularly the displacement settings, and also other key findings and lessons that were learned on this project. So because I don't want to dwell so much onto the details, which I believe Marion and her colleague Miriam will take us through. So I would like to welcome Marion and Miriam to take us through the rest of the session. Thank you and welcome everybody.
Thank you very much, Cyprus. I hope I'm loud and clear. Kindly confirm.
Yeah, yes, you are. Let me just share your slides now. Sorry.
Okay, sure. So we're happy to be doing the presentation today on piloting electric pressure cookers in Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement. My name is Marianne Wanjiro. I'll be doing this presentation with my colleague Marion. We also have two of our colleagues online, and I'll just let them probably just introduce themselves because they will help us in answering any questions. Probably you can start with Marion, then John, and then Christine.
Yes, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marion Ambani. I work for SNV Kenya in the energy sector. I do monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Marianne. Good morning, colleagues. My name is John Joe. I work with the SNV Kenya. I'm based in Kakuma. I do coordinate implementation of SNV energy interventions here in Kakuma and Kalobeyei. It's a pleasure to be on the call.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Uluma. I also work with SNV based in the Kakuma office.
Great, thank you very much. Just to show my face, hello everyone. My name is Marianne Wanjiro, Access to Finance Advisor at SNV Kenya. So today we
Marianne, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Before we understand the PepsiK project, we need to understand a few things. Number one, we need to understand the NDEV program and the Mbeya project. So NDEV is in full energizing development, and it's a consortium of organizations that we currently work in our energy projects. So to understand the Kakuma refugee camp, it was established in 1992. For those who are not yet born, the camp is older than you. Currently hosts 255,000 refugees, of which 53,000 are in Kalobeyei. And these are as at our implementation last year. So 96% of the people in Kakuma and Kalobeyei use firewood and charcoal for cooking. Now, NDEV came into the Kakuma market, has been present since 2017 through the market-based energy access project, which I'm going to expound on. And the main aim is to transition the Kakuma refugee camp and Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement from donation-based to market-based access to energy. And this is also through promoting market-based access to improve cook stoves for solar for households and business use. Next slide. So the MBEA project, we call it MBEA, Market-Based Energy Access Project. The donor is NDEV, and the time frame of this project has been from 2017 to 2024, with the main objective being to develop local distribution networks for clean stove products for households, SMEs, and social institutions. Of course, the location is Kakuma Camp, Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement, and host community. Next slide. So the MBEA project came about as a result of a rapid assessment that was conducted by GRZ in early 2017. And just to give you a summary of the results of that rapid assessment, it basically said that the energy market is non-existent, quote unquote, that the energy access market in Kakuma and Kalobeyei is non-existent. So we came up and started thinking of how can we then bring about energy access in Kakuma. And this is where now we developed the market-based energy access project. So we had a piloting phase from October 2017 to December 2018, where we were basically just trying to understand what can be done, what cannot be done, just to try and understand how we can bring about energy access. Then we had a bridging phase from January 2018 to September 2019, and a very scaling up phase from October 2019 to June 2023. And the focus here was on promoting market access for private partners. So these are distributors of clean cook stoves and clean and solar energy appliances that have not been able to protrude the market in Kakuma and Kalobeyei, so us supporting them to get into the market. So currently, as at now, we are at the MBEA phase 3, which started from July 2023 and is going all the way to December 2024. We are more or less doing the same thing, which is supporting private partners. However, we are now doing the direct implementation, because during the implementation of the different phases, we saw that the private partners have now been able to access the market and have also been able to set up. So we are trying to shift to make sure that it's sustainable, hence us slowly but surely moving away. So the main project activities of the MBEA 3 project is, number 1, to promote local production of HTC stoves in the refugee market. That's high-tier cook stoves. Number 2 is to enhance distribution and uptake of stoves in the refugee market, promoting distribution and uptake, supporting the enhancement of refugee enabling environment. This is through different forums, stakeholder forums, communications and collaborations with different stakeholders, both from the supply side, demand side, etc. And then, of course, promotion of innovating and sustainable financing mechanism in the refugee market, simply because we have seen that implementation alone is not enough. We are making sure that everyone is aware of the clean cooking and solar technologies. But now when it comes to accessing, they have this big major problem, which is access to finance. So the MBEA 3 phase is also focusing on promoting, innovating, and sustainable mechanisms. And then last but not least, which is one of the things we are doing right now today, is knowledge dissemination to facilitate replication and upscaling of project interventions. Next slide. So the key intervention areas is, of course, the supply side, which is to establish distribution of energy products. On the demand side, we are working to enhance adoption. So we are not just working on awareness raising and making sure they just have access, but also adopting. This means understanding how the technologies work and how to optimally use them. Another intervention area is, of course, enhancing the business enabling environment. So we are working in all these intervention areas to implement the previously mentioned activities. Next slide. So for technology scope, sorry, there's someone who is, okay, thanks. For the technology scope, the types of technology that we are working on promoting is, of course, solar systems for household lighting. Then we have solar systems for productive use in business settings, stoves for household, high-tier cook stoves, and most importantly, in relation to today, industrial electric pressure cookers, both for household and industrial. Next slide, please. So the main target groups for the MBEA project is communities, of course. We're targeting the end users, local stove producers, local stove production unit, just to make sure that there's sustainability even when the project stops, that we are supporting local stove production units, that these production units can be able to continue producing and distributing even when the project ends. Stove supply side actors, solar supply side actors, and of course, credit providers. These are formal and informal financial institutions. We have the VSLAs who we are currently closely working with. And that's, in a nutshell, that's the MBEA project. Next slide. So I think my colleague will take you from here, piloting electric pressure cookers, but we just wanted you to understand the MBEA project and how we moved from NDEV to MBEA to now piloting electric pressure cookers. So I think the biggest gap that we observed in coming up with the PepsiK project was that during our implementation in the phases, we did not have a distributor that was focusing on electric pressure cookers. So have that in mind and let Marion continue with that. Thank you.
The previous slide, please, Cyprus. Yeah, now about the piloting of the electric pressure cookers in Kalobeyei. We were able to do this project from November 2021 to December 2022. And they've had an innovation window and supported us in this work together with MEX. So we as SNV were the lead implementer for the project, focusing on the general project management and also the field implementation. We also partnered with CLASP, who supported us on the research. We also had another implementer who also helped us develop the different finance payment models for the electric pressure cooker called Fresh on Energy. So the objective of the PepsiK project was to test the commercial distribution and the use of the electric pressure cookers in order to gain insights into the electric pressure cookers market development and the mini grid capacity requirements. And the location was Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement, which was our focus area, but we had spillovers to the Kakuma camp. So our partners, we also partnered with Renewable Energy, that is a mini grid developer, as mentioned, Fresh on Energy, and of course also UNHCR, who is in charge of all the partners who are operating in Kakuma and Kalobeyei Integrated Development. And also we also partnered with Solaria, who was our main distributor during the commercial stage. So I'll take you through the project activities. First of all, we started with the product testing. We were able to test the EPCs, 20 of them, 15 to households and 5 to eateries. So here we also looked at different brands of the electric pressure cookers. We had the Eco electric pressure cooker from Ban Manufacturing. We also able to test the Von EPC from Hotpoint. We also looked at Sayona EPC and also the Power Hive EPC. When we went to the commercialization stage, we settled to promote the EPC from Power Hive because it was available at that time. We wanted to promote the ECOA EPC from BAN, but they didn't have stock at that time, since, as we all know, that ECOA's capacity is 7.5 liters, while the capacity for the rest, that is Vaughan, Sayona, and Power Hive, are 6 liters. So during the product distribution, we were able to distribute 80 electric pressure cookers. And as mentioned, we were able to develop different payment models, which you'll be able to see. And then under the data collection and analysis phase, of course, we're able to collect data to also see how the payment model developed by Freshon was working out. And also we're able to collect data on the end user experience and of course the electricity consumption. Next slide, please. Now I'll go through some of the interesting findings from our PepsiK project. So we had some findings focusing on the impact of cooking events and time. So from the graph that you can see, it came out that the number of cooking events stayed similarly, that is twice a day. And then of course, Renuvia does rationing during the day. So that means that times you can use the electric pressure cooker and at times you cannot use the electric pressure cooker. And there was an indication that the EPC usage saves overall cooking time and of course also frees up time during the cooking time. Next slide. So another interesting finding on the impact on water use. After our analysis of the data we collected, it came out clearly that EPC saves a lot of water and it will be a good solution for a displacement like Kakuma and also Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement, where water is a problem because it's a drought-stricken area. Next slide. So looking at the EPC impact use and the cost of cooking fuel and the meal preference, if you look at the first diagram there, looking at the change in the amount of primary fuel used for cooking. So you can see during the period when we were doing the project, most EPCs users reduced the use of charcoal and firewood for cooking, and the fuel savings reflected was 200 Kenyan shillings per week. And of course, we know in such a setting, we have different tribes. We have people coming from Somali. We have people coming from Ethiopia. We also have people coming from Congolese. Their meal preference also did not change. This indicates that even after purchasing these electric pressure cookers, it was very compatible with the food types they cook in that settlement. Next slide. So on the general research findings, that is on the EPC impact on awareness and ownership, we were able to do various BCC activities during the project, and as a result, the awareness of the EPC significantly increased due to the marketing activities we were conducting as a project. And then, of course, also it came out clear that the lack of access to finance and the high price of the electric pressure cookers are the main barriers preventing people from purchasing the electric pressure cookers. From the findings on the payment models, you'll be able to see that we really had a high default rate for the electric pressure cookers. And in terms of time saving, of course, the electric pressure cooker saves time because it cooks very fast. And also there is that convenience that comes when cooking with electric pressure cooker. And of course, there is no smoke. So there's reduced smoke. Those were the mentioned primary drivers for the uptake of the solution in Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement. Next slide. So looking at the EPC usage experience, adaptation, and continuity, you can see that most of the electric pressure cooker users said that they really like the EPC because of the shape and design. That is the Power Hive EPC. And then they mentioned that it was also very easy to use the electric pressure cooker because you also cook unsupervised. And then, of course, they also liked the EPC because it's a clean source of fuel because, you know, previously, most of the residents, they were using firewood to cook, which had a lot of smoke and soot. So EPC, it's a clean source of fuel. And then also, they like the fact that this requires minimal cooking supervision. And of course, it uses little water. You know, water is an issue in such a displacement setting. So they really like the fact that they were able to use less water when cooking with the electric pressure cooker. And of course, the saving when it came to time. The thing that this our people didn't like about the electric pressure cooker was that it had a small pot size. As mentioned, it was 6 liters, and of course the lack of a spare pot. It didn't come with a spare pot, but we recognize that now companies are really also manufacturing spare pots when they're distributing these electric pressure cookers. Next slide. Marianne?
Great. So coming to commercial distribution and payment models, we partnered with Freshon Energy Solutions to develop 4 payment models that we thought would work to the end users. And these were, number 1, payment model in terms, just back kindly. Number 1, payment model for cash, direct cash and carry. Number 2, the 4 weeks payment model that had a weekly payment installment of 1,236. The 12-week payment model that had a weekly installment of 577, and the 20-week payment model that had a weekly installment of 424. Of course, the lower the deposit and weekly installment, the higher the chances of buying is what we assumed. The most popular subscription among the models was, of course, the 20 weeks payment model. This is because it had a lower deposit and lower weekly installments amounts, as you can see. Next slide. So the outcomes from that is that we identified several factors that contributed to the high default rate. Yeah, unfortunately, even with the different payment models, we observed high default rates, and this we attributed to low purchasing power of the refugees because there are a lot of financial competing needs, and common indebtedness culture. They have this mindset of aid, so we're really trying to move them from aid to trade. Number 2 was insufficient customer vetting, because insufficient customer vetting, and then ineffective processes and systems for payment recollection, because we heavily relied on Solaria to do this, yet they do not have the processes and the systems for payment collection. Then another factor was the focus on distribution as opposed to collection, and this was actually one of the major things that we observed when we were trying to distribute this. When we were distributing this using the payment models, Solaria, as we concluded, is definitely did not have enough the capacity to collect for payment recollection. Hence, they mostly focus on distribution, as is their mandate, and very little focus on payment recollection, as is not their mandate. Next slide. So key learnings and recommendations, Marion.
We are now going to the key learnings and recommendation. We saw that the EPC was a good fit for the households, and it really had a positive impact when it came to reducing the cooking time, fuel costs, and water consumption. We didn't see it as a very good fit for the businesses since it was a small EPC, that is 6 liters. And then the efforts should also focus on after-sales and user training to optimize benefits and ensure sustained use. We as a project really also focused on the after-sales. After we distributed the EPCs, we had people coming from Kakuma and also Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement going to Power Hive Center in Kisii. They got trained on the after-sales services, and this was really effective because in case an EPC developed an issue, they didn't have to send it back to Kisii. We really had good trained people on ground who are also supporting us on the after-sales. And then also the EPCs can be accessed through payment in installments. However, the high total price of the EPC and installment payment collection remains a major challenge, hence needs to access to finance intervention. As you've seen in the slide on the payment models, we had different payment models and really experienced a high default rate. So if we come in with interventions on access to finance, for example, we have these refugees going into VSLAs and also being able to purchase the EPCs, that will be very helpful. And then also another key learning was that interventions should capacitate to build a sustainable supply chain with inclusive business models and clear reverse logistics for after sales. As mentioned by my colleague, Solaria was our distributor, but for them, they focused on the marketing side and also making sure they made the sales. So they didn't focus on really getting the cash when it came to those who are purchasing on the higher purchase. That is the third, the fourth, and the third payment model. And then the EPC uptake among mini-grid customers has potential to increase mini-grid electricity consumption. However, this really requires reliable and consistent supply of energy and additional end-user training to ensure sustained and frequent usage. As mentioned, Renewia does rationing during the day, so it was also a bit challenging for the refugees to use the EPCs to cook during some time of the day. So if we have really a good mini-grid developer who will expand the capacity of the mini-grid, that would be useful. And we are really impressed by the fact that by the time we were doing the project, Renewia had a mini-grid in Kalobeyei with a capacity of 541 kilowatts, and they had connected around 3,000 people. It's interesting to learn that they have really now expanded their grid, which is really good, meaning there is a very high potential for EPCs in both Kakuma and also Kalobeyei Integrated Settlement. Next slide. Marianne?
Great. So the current situation as at now, and which we are greatly attributing to the PepsiK project, is that e-cooking market has definitely increased in Kenya, more specifically in Kakuma and Kalobeyei. Before we started, there was very little knowledge, very little information about EPC usage in Kakuma and Kalobeyei, but because due to the piloting of the electric pressure cookers project, we have seen an increasing market. And because of this, during this end of 4 phase, the Mbeya project that we are at, the phase that we are at right now, we have been able to partner with 2 companies who sell EPCs in Kakuma and Kalobeyei. These are companies that would have otherwise not have gone into the market. Until now, we were able to partner with them and provide them with the knowledge and the learnings that we had. Also, mini-grid system in Kakuma is being extended, as Marion has said, which will definitely allow for households to cook with electricity. So even though you might think that the project might not have been successful in terms of everyone clearing the payments of the EPCs, the impact is greater than the project itself. We have seen a very good market knowledge on EPCs in Kakuma and Kalobeyei. We are now seeing even more than the 2 partners trying to come into the market, and even just more awareness on end users saying, okay, we didn't know we can cook with EPCs at the camp, but now we have the information and we are well aware. Next slide, please. Okay, so that comes to the end of our presentation. These are our donors. As we said, the PepsiK project was an innovation window under the NDEV project, and we focused on electric pressure cookers because we had seen before that we did not have distributors who were distributing electric pressure cookers. So the PepsiK was an opportunity for us to test and see if the electric pressure cookers can work. So we have a very short video on the success of the project. So Cyprus, I think you can go to the next one. Next slide, please.
Oh, so I'm saying, give me a minute, I share the one that has the video. Thank you.
Okay, so probably while we share, I don't know, Cyprus, if we can go to answering any questions or.
Yes, Philomena, you can take us through the Q&A as I share the slides.
Thank you, Cyprus. Thank you, SNV team, for that very great and elaborate presentation. Right about now, I would like to request if anyone has a question, you could raise your hand or you could either type your question in the chat box. So I was looking at the chat box and I saw some questions there from Stewart to the team that has just finished their presentation. So hi, Stewart. So Stewart just wrote something, said, a product cheaper than an EPC should be tried as well, like a rice cooker, much more affordable, might not need customer financing, will be similar to the deposit payment needed for pay as you go. So I would like to ask Marion and team, apart from just the EPC, did you try out other electric cooking devices like the rice cooker, or maybe the other one is the 2-in-1 air fryer? And how was the reaction to it or the uptake to it, just to try and respond to Stewart's question?
I think before we get to answering the question, because I think the video will be able to answer that question. If we can go directly to the video and you can see why we chose the EPC instead of others. Probably if you can play the video.
Okay, Cyprus, is the video ready? Can you play it?
Beryl has shared it. Are you able to hear the audio?
No, we cannot.
No, Cyprus.
Maybe Beryl, can you unmute? Let me ask Beryl to unmute.
Okay, baby, if Cyprus and Beryl are having technical issues, can the team from SNV directly play the video? Because I'm thinking it's you are the origin.
You still can't hear it?
Yeah.
Sure, let me try.
No, Beryl.
He is taking all the water away to what's in the body. So that he has even the finest dust particles.
If it's okay, I can share my screen and play.
Yeah,
the
please
video.
do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kindly confirm if
Thank
you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can, Beryl.
Okay.
Please select computer audio just at the bottom of the screen. I think that might be the challenge with sound.
Sorry?
At the bottom of the screen, you could select a computer audio for us to maybe hear the sound.
Okay.
Or Miriam, let me go ahead and share since I'm connected to a speaker, it will be easier.
any kind of food, rice or vegetable, cereals that Congolese, it doesn't matter. Having access to clean and efficient ways of cooking should be strongly strived for, but it is not, especially not here. Welcome to Kakuma, but things can change, and that's exactly why I was present. Of 210,000 people living in and around Kakuma, especially the host and the refugees, still use either based on fire, open fire, charcoal, or firewood cook stoves. And you can see the smoke rising up when they are cooking. But in several households, having electricity access from a solar mini grid system, we saw an opportunity. That was the boost we needed to start our pilot project, introduce electric pressure cookers to refugees across community households and businesses is an alternative to biomass cooking. After all, if this can be done in a refugee camp, it can be done in many home places. Welcome to our cooking demo. We are here to explain to you the importance of using electric pressure cookers and how to use them safely. Especially when you train the health agent, it is important to share knowledge in a way that people can replicate, creating local capacity to these people. There was some restriction at the beginning for some women. It was challenging to adapt, but everyone agreed on the final result.
Siku ya kwanza aliponiambia nilifikiri kama nikunipotezea tu time. Nikafurahia, nikasema nataka nione hizo jiko ni jiko gani. It felt extremely good because I will be getting an experience on how to use the electric pressure cooker, and also it has so many advantages. Inatusaidia sana kupika kwanza haraka. Ukiwa unapika ukiwa ndani haitoi moshi. So it's less pollution, it does not pollute the environment like the other jikos, and also it uses less water. The food that is cooked by it, it's very tasty and it has a very nice aroma.
We want to show people that these systems work. It will push more people to adopt EPCs. Many more people have access to clean cooking methods. If we embrace the modern cooking sources, we will turn during a very creative time for all of us.
Okay, thank you. We hope it was clear enough. However, it's also available on YouTube. So you can also check it out on YouTube. But I hope that answers the question. And probably it's me, Marianne Wanjiro, who does not know because I am a finance person. But can you cook ugali with a rice cooker? We wanted to use an EPC because of the many options that it would provide. Of course, the people in refugee are from different backgrounds. So we wanted to use a technology that would cater for the different types of food that the refugees use. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and maybe just to add on the response, as during the presentation, Marianne mentioned that during our current phase from where we have partners who are doing EPCs on Peigo, that is Nyalore, and also Sanking. So for Nyalore also, they'll be doing rice cookers and also air fryers. But for PepsiK, the main focus was the electric pressure cookers. Thank you. John, you wanted
thank
to...
you. Oh, thank you, Marian. I just wanted to add to your response. And thank you for that response. Just to say that the implementation of this pilot project was last year, but I'll say also the project was conceived earlier. That was last year, but when the window ended, the innovation window opened. And there was a big consideration, as Marianne talked about, EPC being the choice for this product. There was a big consideration of which electrical cooking appliance can we be able to pilot outside there. And the thinking was, let's look at an appliance that can do multiple cooking, can cook several foods. And then there was also the issue of looking at the cultures. We are talking about quite a big number of different people from different ethnic, groups. And then if you have probably others may not even be cooking something right. So it was important to think about what type of foods do they cook, and EPC was actually fitting it, not to every recipe that they cook, but it was nearing that. So that's why we piloted this one. But then it was an entry point, I'll say, because as we are rolling out, more phases, and especially now we are looking at a different phase of ended, we are looking at partners who can now be able to bring to commercialize quite a number of these, electric cooking appliances. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's fine, Philomena. Proceed with the question.
Thank you, Cyprus. Thank you, John, Wanjiru, and Marion, for your responses on the other alternative apart from the electric pressure cooker. So questions are coming in that chat. We have answered Stewart's question. So I had a question from Sayo, who is asking if there, since this has been introduced in the humanitarian setting in Kakuma for this in this context, did they get a tariff that the refugees were using as they were using the electric pressure cookers? Like an electricity tariff, sorry.
Maybe I can take that. So for the tariffs, we had different tariffs that were given by Renuvia to the households and also to the businesses. So the households were paying 25 shillings. Actually, I'm still paying up to now. And then for the businesses is 30 shillings. These were given by Renuvia after working with the KPLC.
Okay, thank you. So another question from Clarice. Clarice wants to know more about the pay-go model of financing for EPCs. So in this context, I think she's requesting not only for the project that you are doing, but for maybe the sector as general, like how is it? I don't know if John Larry can respond to this, and also the SNV team. Because in your presentation, you said the Lipa Polepole model was working, did not work so well. For me, that's what I had. But I think for Clarice, she would like to know more about the financing for EPCs on PAYGO.
Probably I can just mention something and then John can add, Larry can add. So specifically to the PepsiK project, we had the 3 payment models. Of course, the one that was most preferred was the 20-week payment model, but we had to cut that down because of project timelines, right? Probably if we had continued, if the project had a longer duration and we had continued supporting Solaria, we would have been able to collect all the money. But in general, it did not work because we did not engage a distributor that has a PAYGO system. Solaria did not have a PAYGO system as at that time. Hence, there were so many issues in terms of systems, payment recollections, etc., etc. But that does not speak for private partners that have PEGO systems. PEGO systems actually do work, but the private partner needs to have really articulated the system and have enough experience to actually undertake the PEGO system. John, you can add.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. I'll say that since this was a piloting, what we tested was a a credit model that it's a basic PEGO, but it's not I'll say automated because we're just trying to see how does it work. So we were testing those models, but then now that we're in the commercial phase whereby we are promoting now the EPC through the private sector, we really do it, and we have had these conversations with the partners that are coming on board and who are planning to sell EPC, that for them to make it in the refugee market, and especially in Kalobeyei, one of the winning points will be to have a PEGO enabled product. And with our conversation with them, they've actually assured us that their products will be PEGO enabled. And I think for quite a number of them are working on their PEGO. So we are sure that in the next few months or probably beginning of next year, we'll have so many EPC or so many electric cooking appliances and a PEGO. But I think probably I've seen some of our partners. I think I saw Dorothy somewhere, probably Nyaro might also be able to comment on something, because what I understand, they're also putting a chip into the product such that this chip can be able to collect most of the data, whether it is in terms of power consumptions, in terms of any other parameter that will be needed in decision making. Back to you.
Thank you, John. So maybe to answer that question, there are those companies whose PEGO system is working, and there are those who maybe are not working so well, but these are just around policies and frameworks that the companies use. Another question came from Maureen. Maureen is asking if there are other similar programs running in the area, apart from your program. Were there other similar programs running in the area? And also she has asked if you have come across other projects, other programs that are issuing EPCs or any other payment models not similar to what you are doing.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's a good one. What I can say is we've been the main partner when it comes to promoting what we are calling clean cooking or clean and modern cooking within these settings. So we've worked with a number of humanitarian agencies, including UNHCR, who are also a big player within this space. But in our working, we've not been able to see any other organization or any other social enterprise introducing especially electric pressure cookers. But I think the interest now is gaining traction after we did this pilot. But what we have also seen is that after this pilot, we also saw some interest even from other players, and this one it was more not on household and businesses, but the thinking was tending towards social institutions. And I think maybe Marion will also be able, Christine will also be able to comment something about what we did with MEX. I think I also saw Beryl. We did the e-cooking, piloting e-cooking in the social institutions, which was one of its kind. And I think we've seen now the interest from the players supporting social institutions, getting an interest to be able to understand this technology better and to see how can they roll it in bits. Because one of the hindrances here is also financing for social institutions, which we'll have more discussions with the players to see how possible is it to transition gradually the social institutions into cooking with the electricity. I don't know whether Marion, you have something to add on that, or Christine?
No, maybe for me, I'll respond. There is a question actually on someone in the chat. Someone asked on social institutions such as schools. And as the Njogu has said, we have done a pilot on only 4 institutions, I think with MEX. And MEX are still working on the results. But the basis of this was that UNHCR installed some small systems, like 15 kilowatt solar system in the institutions here, mostly schools and hospitals and the reception centers. So we have piloted that also with 4 institutions and waiting for the results from that soon. Probably we have another session. Next, we'll organize another one to share the results.
Okay, thank you for the response. I think that was my next question, but then it has been responded to with regards to the social institutions. But then Samir was requesting to know the expected design life and warranty of the EPCs that were being used for this project.
Okay, thank you, Philomena. Probably we got your question right. You talked about the designs of the EPC, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe what I can say is initially when we were piloting, what we did is that we had several designs. We looked at several companies that are offering EPC outside there in the market. We looked at what BAN has, we looked at what Power Hive has, we looked at Vaughan, we looked at Sayona, and then we also did make a consideration in terms of the customer support. And we're looking at do these companies have the customer support within the region or anywhere within Kenya? And we felt probably Power Hive was a good choice because they are in Kisii, and then if you look at the proximity between Turkana and Kisii, that journey is doable, and we are feeling probably it will be easier for us to transact business with them, maybe even to have our teams or technicians trained at the industry, and also have Power Hive team also come to support on the ground. So that's how we settled on Power Hive, but being a pilot. But then during our, as you saw in the video, during the time the demos were being done, we had those awareness raising sessions. There was also the discussion that Power Hive is not only the design that is in the market. There are more other designs. In fact, we bought all the designs and were able to showcase, what is outside there. And then we were also telling the audiences that beyond these pilots, you can go to the market, and you'll be able to get all these designs, but then they were not in Kakuma. So what we've been encouraging now the private sector is to come with the different designs and bring them to the market. We've been looking at who is offering BAN, who is offering Power Hive, who is offering any other, as long as these EPCs have been tested and they've been certified, then we are ready to support the private sector to be able to roll out and promote these products. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Excellent work there done by the SNV team on e-cooking in the humanitarian setting. So one last question from my end, and I think this question was also asked by John. You mentioned that during your project implementation, the pilot project that is, you did some behavior change campaigns, communication campaigns. So my question would be, what would you say was the impact of this campaign? Was there increased uptake, both negative and positive impacts? Maybe you can mention a few.
Maybe Marian, you can take that, then I can add.
Yes, sure. During the project implementation, we were able to do the BCC activities. We were doing the BCC activities every Thursday of every week. So this really had a positive impact on our work, as you also were able to see in the video. The uptake of the EPCs increased, and people really desired to buy the EPCs from our activities. And they liked the fact that they didn't know they can cook with electricity, and they had not known the benefits that come with cooking with an electric pressure cooker. So with our intervention on BCC, the uptake really increased, and of course, the demand also was very high. And that's why in the BEAR project, we're also promoting the electric pressure cookers as industrial higher tier HTCs. Yeah.
Thank you, Marian.
Thank you, Marian. Probably just to add a line into Marian's response is that when we were also piloting the EPC, it happened that in our main project, that is the market-based energy access project, we were continuing with another behavior change campaign for the improved cook stove. And then EPC was an addition into this. And it excited the market because remember, we've always been promoting, the improved cook stove using firewood and using charcoal. And here we have now a modern cooking system. So when it was displayed outside there by that is by Soralia, who are, the EPC distributor, people are so excited, and a lot of inquiries were done. And if you look at what it is, that there was a shift in so many people thinking then, instead of we are so used to stove, the cook stove cooking with charcoal, then this is a different one that we can be able to try out there. So even the effect from that time, it is being felt because after the pilot, people are still coming over to the office, even when we had a gap between that old phase and this new phase, asking, where are these EPC? Are you still selling them? And that's why we've been very keen to onboard anybody talking about an EPC. We were also happy to have them on board in this particular phase. So the BCC did quite a lot. The people are also able to learn, we were also able to learn a lot about the behaviors. And then there was this expression by the different nationalities on how they cook, on what the EPC cannot cook. So those responses were there during those behavior change campaign, and we had those communications. I think Marion talked about it, especially when they talked about this, the limitations in terms of one pot, in terms of wanting bigger pot. These were some of the feedback that you were getting from the market. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the elaborate responses from the SMV team. I do not see any other questions in the chat box, neither do I see any hand lifted for a question. So I will hand this session back to to our host, Cyprus, from the Damos team. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Philomena. I'll be closing the session. So that was a great session on the potential for e-cooking within households in displacement settings, highlighting some of the savings in terms of cost, time that can emerge from using EPCs within such settings. And one of the most important ones being the water savings, especially given the kinds of contexts within which these displacement settings occur. So apart from this, it has also highlighted the fact that there's potential to expand and strengthen off-grid systems from increasing electricity demand through introducing e-cookings within these settings. And that is something that we have thought about for the main grid, but it's great to know that these kinds of benefits can also be seen within off-grid settings. Then of course, there's also need to strengthen supply chains that serve these regions and the capacity of the private sector actors to implement tailored initiatives that include financing consumers for appliances like the EPC, so that we can address some of the challenges that the team shared from this project. So the potential is there and can be explored further. And hopefully in the coming months, like Christine mentioned, we can share experiences from a different phase of the project that we did with institutions in the refugee camp. So that is something that we're still working on, and there are already exciting results that we will be able to share soon. So thank you to Marianne, Marion, John, Christine, and the rest of the SNV team for taking us through this project. And thank you so much to my colleague Cyprus for organizing the amazing session that has turned out to be a great success. And hopefully these discussions can be carried on from here. Also, thank you to our moderator for the day, Philomena, for carrying forward this discussion. So on the 11th, we will have another dialogue on where our colleagues from UCL and Strathmore will be sharing findings from a set of CCTs from different sets of controlled cooking tests, where they were comparing the financial, energy, and time costs of different foods and stove combinations for Kenyan dishes. An invite for this will go out soon, and we look forward to seeing you all there for the next session also. So for now, we'd like to close this session, and thank you everyone for attending and making this a very lively discussion.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Great session.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have you done your count? Unataka kuwa